time I shot and killed a pitbull. Ban pitbulls. So, I do DoorDash as a side job, and with that job comes risks that I've accepted. With that being said, nothing prepared me for what happened on that day. It started off as an average day of DoorDashing, getting offended at the shitty orders with no tips and cherry-picking gigs to make good money. I accepted an Outback Steakhouse order, $10 to go 3 miles. Sounded good enough to me, although there ended up being absolutely no tip on a $125 order, cheap bastard. I arrive at Outback, and since this cheap fucker didn't tip, they had to remake his food so it didn't arrive cold. When people don't tip, their food sits at the restaurant until the pay is increased enough for a dasher to accept it. That pissed me off, considering the order consisted of several steaks and lobster tails. This quick and easy Outback order was already seeming nightmarish, and I had no idea what was in store. During my 30-minute wait for this total Dutcherbags extravagant order, I considered unassigning the order, but I stuck with it because I figured I was already halfway through the order process and it was an easy $10. After about 15 minutes of waiting, I updated the customer about the wait time and I explained that they had to remake the order. The customer calls me just to cuss me out about how it's unacceptable that he has to wait this long because he'd spent a fortune. The only reason he's had to wait is because the fucker couldn't even tip $1, and he had the audacity to cuss at me for something out of my control. I arrive with his hot steaks, all rare, and as I'm walking up his yard to his doorstep, an unleashed pitbull is fucking charging at me. I figured he was after the steaks, so I threw the bag to the side. He wasn't after the steaks, he was after my throat. This pitbull jumps at me, so I instinctively kicked it full force, assuming it would leave me alone. That just made it angrier, and it wasn't going to stop until I was dead. I called the customer's name out as loud as I could. No reply. I was kicking the dog repeatedly while calling out for the customer. Finally, I reached for my concealed carry .45 ACP. This was the last resort. I shot the dog 3 times before it finally backed down. I shot it again in the head to put it out of its misery. Conveniently, that's when the pit owner comes storming out. He heard the gunshots and the dog's barking and final cry. He is fuming, screaming at the top of his lungs, foaming at the mouth, red in the face, running at me. I nope the fuck out of there. I hope I didn't get a 1-star review.